Behind the Shades.
So I'm Tonia Winchester, and officially Dr. Tonia Winchester. I am a naturopathic physician. And within the last couple of years, merging naturopathic medicine with neuro-linguistic programming, NLP for short, and the marriage of these two incredible healing tools has proven to be this really powerful way to get people to neurologically, emotionally, and psychologically be prepared or be able to stick to the healthy habits that are actually going to help them create the health outcomes that they want. So that is what I've been up to, is this blend of these two modalities.
That sounds so exciting. So for those who may not be too familiar with some of the terms that you use, what is naturopathy, and explain a little bit further for those who are looking to maybe get involved in this, but they don't necessarily fully understand the terms and the process of it.
Yes, absolutely. So naturopathic medicine is a discipline in medicine that has 5 or 6 main tenets. Naturopathic doctors are primary care physicians, so you'd go see a naturopathic doctor for the same reasons you'd see your general family doctor in Western medicine, but our approach is just different. So first and foremost, we're really looking to find the root cause of illness and disease, and I know we're going to be talking about that today. Second, we look to treat the whole person. So we're not just treating body parts or conditions, we're treating a human being. And we're treating them in a way that they're an individual. So each human being is in the context of their unique experience. The main sort of philosophy of naturopathic medicine is using nature to heal. And the belief is that every single organism knows how to heal. Every single being on the planet has exactly what it needs to self-correct and to go back into healing mode. And so we just have to find the right circumstances for that to happen. And the fifth main sort of premise or idea or philosophy in naturopathic medicine is teaching prevention. So whatever we can do to instill healthy habits to prevent and ward off disease, that's really what we're aiming to do. So with all that in mind, I was finding in my practice as a naturopathic doctor, it's been about 16 years in practice now, that I was personally quite dissatisfied. And when I reflected on that, I would meet with a new patient and we'd sit down, we'd have this great interview, and we'd put together this awesome treatment plan for them. And they'd go away and they'd come back maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And they'd be like, eating my broccoli is just so hard. And I make light of this, but it was so common that whatever the thing was that was really going to help them with whatever their health goal was really difficult. So these lifestyle habits that allow naturopathic medicine to actually thrive and work are inaccessible to people. And I got so curious about this moment in human psychology where we decide to take care of ourselves. We decide to eat the broccoli, to get to bed on time, to drink enough water, to set boundaries in relationships, to eliminate toxic relationships, or whatever the thing is that's going to actually help our bodies go back into healing mode by eliminating certain stresses. People just had a hard time doing that. And so NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, was this sort of magical tool bridge, I guess, that came into my life that allowed me to change the underlying deep down neurological belief structures that were preventing people from taking care of themselves. So things like, I don't deserve to be well, or I am not valuable enough to eat my broccoli, or whatever the thing is. I'm not worthy of that. And that became this really interesting place. And the tools of NLP allow me to actually go back and change those belief structures so that those healthy habits are easy for people. They want to wake up and they want to take care of themselves. So did I answer your question?
Yes. And you did so elegantly. And I will add that you do not leave the dinner table until you clean your plate. Broccolis, yes, carrots, cauliflower, and everyone remembers that from their mother and their fathers. And with that said, I think that's a beautiful thing, because I know there's some people out there who look in the mirror and they say, kind of fat today. I don't feel that anyone's going to find me attractive.
Mm.
I'm feeling kind of old today. I don't know if there's someone out there who's going to love me because of my age. I'm not as successful in life. I am almost 40. I'm a man and I still work at McDonald's living with my parents. But that's all what I would call self-fulfilling prophecy, meaning that you say you are not good enough. You find something about yourself that someone told you somewhere isn't good enough, and you focus on that instead of the positivity. And you made a good point when you say that you want to help the person heal themselves.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that they're okay. So when you touch on different topics where you say that you could go from relationships to physical health, to emotional health, to mental health, what is your typical client look like from maybe not physically, we're not going to get into that, right? But maybe when they come to you, how's that process from the very beginning?
Yeah. So the person who I'm really resonating with working with right now is both overwhelmed and underwhelmed in their life all at the same time. They're busy, stressed, overscheduled, anxious, burnt out. They're in what I call the burnout cycle, where there's stress, sometimes amping and ramping up to anxiety and even panic in some cases, creating the wrong environment to have the nervous system calm down at night and sleep deeply and restore the energy. So they wake up tired, exhausted, and now they're irritable and cranky with the people that they love. And that makes them more stressed and more anxious, and the cycle continues. And throughout all this overwhelm, there's also this lack of satisfaction, this underwhelm, this desire for something more, this potential that isn't being fulfilled, this need inside them that isn't being met. So that is the best way to describe the person. They're both overwhelmed and underwhelmed all at the same time. But primarily, they're not sleeping, they're anxious, stressed. Sometimes there's pain. I find this marriage of these two tools really effective for persistent or chronic pain, interestingly. And, you know, as you're talking about those beliefs and looking in the mirror and having those statements inside yourself, most of the time that stuff is not conscious, right? It's under the surface of our awareness. And that's the place where all healing happens, in the unconscious mind. So what I'm keen to do is connect with people who are interested in working at a deep level and interested in really getting a transformation, so that they're not just getting a pill or even a herb or, you know, some sort of other band-aid remedy. They're actually getting a deep transformation in their neurological system, so that they wake up and they look in the mirror and they're like, damn, like I am looking good, feeling good, and I have something to offer the world. And these people really want to show up as their best selves. They want to contribute to their family in a way that's sustainable and meaningful. And they want to make a difference in their community too. And they know that they have to have their own cup filled up first for that to really happen.
And I would hope to have everyone reach the point where they can have the confidence to look at themselves and feel that they're not only good looking, but they're happy within their body. Because it's more than the outfit itself, right? Like anyone could put on something sexy and they can get that type of attention, but it may not be it's fleeting, right? It's like
it's
the
incongruent.
The man that walks around shirtless after a good pump at the gym, right? You know, and all of a sudden no shirts fits him, or the woman that all of a sudden she wears a skirt that you can see what she had for lunch earlier in the day, right? Because we want to make sure that it's forever. And I think that's where you're helping the customers, because you mentioned something that it starts with it's actually on the unconscious level. So my understanding, there's a conscious, subconscious, and the unconscious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you mentioned that it's there, can you break that down so we understand the different stages?
Yes. I'm going to not define subconscious. I'm going to just go with conscious and unconscious. So the conscious mind is the one that we're aware of. It's the one that we can, we're looking around. I'm seeing outside a window right now. There's some trees. I'm conscious of those trees. I'm here with you listening. I'm conscious of what you're saying. It's the part that we're aware of, right? It's the part that we're conscious of. The unconscious is everything that we're not aware of, that we're unconscious to. And it is the part that is driving our bus. And it's driving our bus on automatic based on what's happened to us in our past. It's the part of us that's digesting our food, breathing right now, who's beating your heart right now, who's growing your hair, who's healing for you. This is your unconscious mind. So the unconscious mind isn't in a location in the body. It's the entire wisdom of the body. It is actually that innate healing ability that all organisms have. And so imagine if you were the preeminent scholar of, let's use hair growth as an example. So you knew exactly what nutrients somebody needed to ingest to grow their hair, exactly what digestive enzymes were needed to break down those foods, to get access to those nutrients, exactly what processes needed to happen to get those nutrients into the blood and up into the hair so that the body can make hair. Even if you knew all of this intellectually, you still wouldn't be able to stop or start your hair growing at will because it's happening unconsciously. So when we work at this deep level, change happens quite quickly because that's where everything is happening from, the unconscious. It's a powerful place to work and a really exciting place because it allows us to have deep healing experiences from past traumas, past negative emotions that we haven't necessarily resolved fully, past significant emotional events, and those limiting decisions and beliefs that we're talking about. We can change those things in the unconscious mind so that old events that used to hold a charge for us that are probably right now contributing to our stress and anxiety, they're neutralized, and it becomes no different than saying, I walked to the store. So that's why I'm getting really jazzed these days about working with the unconscious mind, because it has this powerful transformation ability for us.
And in a way, are you tapping into that unconscious mind to bring some things to the surface, into their conscious mind, so they're aware of it, as you mentioned?
Sometimes, yes, and this might sound a little bit strange. The work that I do with my clients in this NLP, or I call it brain-based coaching, is content-free. And so that means very often, as the practitioner, as the coach, I don't actually know what they're working on, what they're clearing, and very often they don't know either. And the cool thing about the unconscious mind is it does a number of things for us that are, well, everything it does for us is for us, to our benefit. But in terms of how it remembers things, it will repress memories that have unresolved negative emotions connected to them to keep us safe. And it will represent those memories when it's time and ready to heal. And sometimes when we're actually doing the transformation work, clients don't actually know what the event is that we're working on, but they have this felt sense that they're in the right place on something we call the timeline, and they're able to get the benefit. And by benefit, I mean they get learnings from their unconscious mind, learnings that allow those emotions and those old events to disappear and dissolve, and so that they're coded in the brain differently.
So take us through how that would help us with stress and anxiety, because I know those are two areas that you highlighted when we initially spoke.
Yes. So the thing that I think most people need to recognize is that if you're experiencing levels of stress, and stress I'm actually considering to be the physiological response in the body. So stress isn't the stuff outside of us that's happening. It's not the drama in the relationships. It's not the bullying at work. It's not the, issues parenting or whatever. Those are stressors. Stress is a physiological response in the body that has a certain set of symptoms connected to it. So, increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, increased breathing rate, increased blood sugar. All of these things are physiological, and that is the stress response. And that can, in some people, ramp up to anxiety. So what I want people to understand is those things are very, very unlikely to be triggered by the events that are actually happening right now, but instead are actually patterns, old habits that the unconscious mind created very young in response to different stimuli outside of you. And so when we're very young, here's the analogy that I like to share. So when we're very young, it's like we're born with an empty filing cabinet, and the filing cabinet is the unconscious mind. Let's just imagine that. And what happens from about age 0 to age 7-ish, it's like people are opening up the doors to our filing cabinet and putting their own darn files in there. So they're putting in their own pain and their own value systems, and they're putting in their own belief structures. And unfortunately, our brains aren't developed enough to have the discernment to say, actually, I don't want your junk files in my filing cabinet. Thank you very much. So instead, they collect. And then by about age 7, it's kind of locked in. The way of seeing the world through these files is established. Now, neurologically, we can say, I don't want your files in my cabinet, but by that point, it's actually too late. And it sets up these patterns and these habits. And we go through life reacting to things automatically without thinking about them. That's the unconscious. And until we can change how the unconscious mind has stored those things, which we can do with NLP, they're going to continue going through life feeling stressed and feeling anxious, thinking that it's about their, the problem in their relationship. But really, I would say 99% of the time, it's actually due to something that happened way long ago.
So if I were to so if I came to you now and I said that I am going through this situation, I just can't make relationships work. I've tried. I've gone to the gym. I've grown a beard. I've done my hair. I watch what diets I eat. I've become vegan, all these fads, right? Everything that is cool these days to do. I'm doing it, but I'm still having issues. I'm still not feeling worthy. I'm not feeling well. And it's starting to build up anxiety and stress into me. Do you help with identifying the source of my stress and anxiety and then working outward, or is there a different process that you take?
Yeah, I think you've pretty much hit the nail on the head. What NLP really excels at is using very specific language, very specific questions to sort of bypass the thinky mind and get access to that unconscious one. And so my first 2 hours with a client is spent doing this assessment, and people get asked questions. I ask them questions that they've never been asked before. And through that questioning, through those very specific language patterns that I use, we get to what the root cause is. And the root cause is ultimately going to be one of those limiting belief statements that we were talking about. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not lovable. And so, yes, we pinpoint the root cause, which we can clear through the work that we do. It comes later in the process, though, that particular thing. But then what we do is we do work outward, but in a very strategic way. The first thing we do with people is clear negative emotions that are unresolved from the past. So things we just didn't have the neurological development to be okay with at the time. We clear then traumatic events, significant emotional events, and then we get onto those limiting decisions. And what's really cool in the process next is we actually help people reconnect to the positive. We help them re-engage with the things that are important to them. And we have to take out those old files, shred them, reorganize them, whatever we need to do, and then put in the good ones. We need to put in a file for peace. We need to put in a file for feeling loved. We need to put in a file for being worthy. We need to put in a file for joy or energy or whatever it is the thing that the person wants. And so we do this in this really strategic way, but it does start from that root cause, very deep belief. Yeah.
So I like your approach. Actually, I love your approach because it comes across as so helpful. And the tools that you use are very important because you probably see all different types of people coming with situations that they want to address, because so many of us have unresolved issues from our childhood. And I know when I speak to my doctor, there's some questions sometimes where you're like, she needs to ask it. It's a little uncomfortable, but she needs to ask that question. Do you go there, as people would say, meaning that, okay, we're going to have an honest, transparent, and open conversation, and then you ask them the question to gain understanding, to help them along? Is it that type of engagement between you and your patients?
I'm big on informed consent. So yes, I'm always getting permission. And actually in this work, every time we do a technique to clear a specific emotion or a specific event, we're always asking the unconscious mind, is it okay for your unconscious mind that we do this and that you get to notice the change and the benefit? And inevitably they say yes. So we go forward with it. And I love that, because the whole purpose is to improve someone's well-being. We call it, is it ecological? Is it good for the person? Is it good for their family? Is it good for the community? And I'm not going to do something that's not ecological to the person. Recent client was asking me, he's like, oh, I haven't been writing down what we've been clearing. And we've been doing all this work, working at the unconscious level. And his conscious mind wanted to know what emotions we've been clearing. And so I just asked him, what's the purpose of you knowing? And he's like, well, I want to keep track. And I said, but I thought we were moving forward here. I thought the whole purpose of you going through this process is to stop dwelling in the past. And I could see that kind of like land in his, oh, okay, I understand, right? And I said, I don't know if it's ecological for me to show you these 10 emotions that we've just cleared, if it's going to make you go back into them. When right now you can't access them, you can't feel them, we're moving on. And he got that. So yes, ultimately, we're wanting to make sure that everything that we're doing is in the person's best interest. And the unconscious mind is always the guide for that.
How much, Tanya, of yourself do you put into your work day to day?
What do you mean by that?
Well, like, I'll give you an example. So for me,
Yeah.
I love talking to people like this, and I love hearing the stories and helping people and hopefully educating them in a little way. But early on in my life, I didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say that I'm putting yourself, I'm putting me in the situation of the people I help and say, hey, I know what it feels like not to have someone there to mentor you, to hear you, to perhaps even give you a voice and direction in your life. So I always like to ask my guests that question, because many times what they're doing, they're so passionate about it. They love it. So that's why I asked, how much of Tonia does she put into herself?
100% of me, but not in a way that's draining. I love and live for this work. I actually think it is my raison d'être, my reason for being. I'm really here to lead myself and others to maximal joy, energy, and vitality. The bridge of these two modalities that I have crafted is such a beautiful path for that to happen. I leave my client sessions so energized, so excited about the work we've done, so excited about the transformation that they have created for themselves and that they're going to go and spread into their lives. I wrote a book about this. This is how passionate I am. I wrote a book about this. It's called Smiling in the Shower. And that title came because one of my very first early adopter clients who went through this process that I take people through, she emailed maybe after the third or fourth session, and she said, by the way, my husband caught me smiling in the shower. And he said to me, honey, you never smile. And she said, I don't know why I was smiling. I was just happy. And for me, that landed in my heart so hard. This woman is a teacher. She's got 2 kidlets of her own. She's going to go out into her day with this smile that she spontaneously had in the shower. And she's going to allow that smile to influence the people around her, the littles that she teaches, her own. I was just so moved by that. I get so excited. So how much of myself do I put into this? All of it in a healthy, balanced way, sustainable.
That's the best way to do it. That is the best way to do it. Because when I say I put myself into it, same way. Same way. I don't want to do it to the point where my cup, because you made the analogy earlier, where it's empty. You always want to be pouring into it. So what kind of advice do you want to give, Tonia, for the next generation who could benefit from the assistance that you're providing?
The next generation. That's a good question. Simplest form of what I want the world to know both globally and individually, is that our bodies are so darn smart. They're incredible geniuses, and they know how to heal, and they want to heal, and they can heal. And we just need to put the right circumstances in place for that healing to happen.